All right, so I keep mentioning that I'm working on some technology stuff, and I discovered something about this tripod. If I turn it this way, it just swings. And if I turn whatever this part is called this way, it does have a lock-in. Well, now I know. And knowing's half the battle. Well, which one is that one? A G.I. Joe? I don't remember. This is Thundercats, one of the things I grew up with. All right. Food. This is a fun one. There was a girl I dated from Colombia some years ago, and she came to, well, that's when I visited Colombia for the first time, was to visit her and her family, and I wanted to cook for her family because it's something I like to do. I wouldn't call myself a chef, but I'm not terrible. So I don't remember exactly what I was making, but I was making something, and so I asked her, how does your family like their food to be seasoned? And she was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like like salt and pepper, spices, things like that. And she said, "We don't do that. We just eat the food." And I was like, "Huh?" Then when I started cooking it and tasting my own food, I knew what she was talking about. The food by itself tastes amazing. It's so fresh, so flavorful. You don't need to put stuff on it. And I was like, wow. We don't have that in the United States. Our food is so bland and produced, like, what do you call it? Oh, I'm forgetting what the word is for this now. Manufactured? I mean, it's not the same. Here, whatever you're eating probably was harvested yesterday or within the last few days. Everything is fresh here. And there's lots of it. And it's not expensive. Yesterday, I took my wife out to breakfast. I got 3 waffles with a bunch of fruit on there and whipped cream and some other stuff. And then I also had an omelet with like ham and cheese, and I had a chai tea. And then my wife had an omelet of her own. I don't remember what she was drinking. I think she was drinking some fruit smoothie thing. Now, I used to drink smoothies a lot in my bachelor's degree. And back then, they were still like $10 or $12 just to get one. Well, anyway, when I got my bill, I knew I wasn't expecting a lot because I've been here for a while now. It was $10.80 for our entire meal. Just my waffles alone in the United States would easily be $10 or $12. Probably even more now because inflation has been like, especially in the last year or so, and I haven't been there in the last year. So what I'm getting at here is food is easy to access and plentiful, and it's local, it's organic, and it's not expensive. And I put a lot of thought into this and some research into this. The reason why it's not super expensive is because you don't have all these processes in the supply chain to get to the consumer. And by the time it gets to the consumer, they have to pay a lot of money, which is taxes to somebody before that restaurant or wherever you got it from, grocery store, taxes to somebody, distributor, wherever it's coming from, taxes to somebody, wherever they get that supply from, taxes to somebody, wherever that supplier gets their stuff from, warehouse or whatever, taxes to somebody, whatever farm or whatever place it comes from, taxes to somebody. But think about who's getting all the taxes. Taxes all go to the government, however many number of ways along the process of the chain. Also, every transaction has a bank fee. Every single one. This is why everything in the United States is expensive. Because you're paying for all this other stuff that happened before it came to you. Here, you buy something from a farmer, you eat it. You go to a restaurant, they got it from a supplier probably who got it from a farmer, and that's what you're paying for. You're not paying for like 12 different transactions before it came to you. And it came here like yesterday or today, or maybe within the last week. The food quality here is different, and I've noticed my health increase significantly in value. The food tastes better. I actually prefer to eat at home now because I can go to the grocery store and make quality food at home for not a lot of money. Whereas it's impossible to do that at home in the United States. It's impossible. You can't do it. I've tried. Even if you go to like the farmer's market and try to buy something organic, it's still not organic. And also, you're still paying for everybody's process to get there. United States is very expensive, and I'll be commenting more on that later. But that's one of the other things I've noticed that's pretty significant difference. People here are healthier, physically healthier, emotionally healthier, spiritually healthier. There's a church on every block. Now, I'm not supporting church. That's not my point. But people are family and spiritually minded. They care about where they live. They care about their communities. Regardless of faith and religion, I think that's an important part of society, is for people to care about one another. We have more things in common than we have things separating us. And if you think about especially recent culture in the United States in the last few years, or 10 years maybe, it's become so divisive. Why? I don't have to get into all that. I'll let other people talk about that. But there's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. The United States is creating its own problems, and it's starting to, I guess, become more real to people to see it. I started seeing this, well, my version of it, whatever impacted me maybe about 15 years ago, I started noticing that we were pricing ourselves out. That the only people that were going to continue to live in the United States and be able to afford the United States are people who've already been here, that own real estate, that have savings or have some wealth that they've built over a lifetime. Young people today have it extremely, extremely hard. Now, something that's kind of funny is, you know, if you're an old enough person, you've heard these stories about, oh, I used to walk up this hill in the snow every day for 10 miles or whatever just to get to school. I know that story because I used to live in Fairfax, Virginia in a place called Springfield. We lived on top of a hill. By the time I got into upper middle school, I had to go down a hill a couple miles and then go up a hill a couple miles to get to my school. And it snows there. And I was also a young percussionist, so a lot of times I was carrying this heavy drum stuff along the way, and I quit drums every year because I got tired of physically doing that. We didn't have a bus. You just walk down it, and you walk up it. And I don't know how long that took us, a couple hours every day getting there, every day getting back. It sucked. But even despite that, I don't know if you hear that, I'll explain that. Even despite that, we had a much better quality of life than you can see with kids today. Today, there might be more conveniences, but all those things cost more money, which means you have to work more, but minimum wage hasn't increased in I don't know how many years, more than 20 years now? I'm not getting into economics right now. That's a whole different world. That siren you just heard, that must mean it's 6 o'clock. So at 6 o'clock, a siren goes off to let young people know that it's curfew time. I don't know the details on that. It's something like if you're younger than 16 or 18 years old, or I don't know what it is, they want you to go inside. It's to keep communities safe and keep people inside to make a community safer. Just to get young people off the streets and going to bed so they can wake up and go to school the next day. There's another one that goes off at 8 o'clock. I'm not sure what that means. I'm still learning about this stuff. But these are things that happen here. And it's vastly different. Now, it might sound like I'm saying the United States is a bad place. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just recognizing some differences that growing up, I was told that everything outside of the United States is horrible. Everything outside the United States is horrible. Well, I just was looking up over a couple days ago, quality of life happiness around the world. I don't remember the exact number it was, but the United States was somewhere in the middle of all countries. We're nowhere near the top. Nowhere. We're somewhere in the middle. So on one hand, you have a lot of money, but also at the same time, you have a lot of expenses. In terms of violence, I did look that one up. We're somewhere in the top 10 of the most violent countries in the world. Why? Because people like their guns. And if you can think about your average person and their level of being stable, realize that half are more stable than that, half are less stable than that. And the people who tend to carry guns are the people that are less stable. Because people who are more stable know to stay away from situations where they're not going to need a gun. People who are less stable put themselves in situations where they need a weapon. And then those people get jealous of the other people, so they like to go to the communities of those other people and shoot them in these public places like schools, events, sport events, universities, things like that, where we tend not to have a lot of guns around because we don't feel a need to have them. It's not a big part of our lives. We read, we study, we go to school, we go to sleep, we hang out, we do our sports, whatever. Maybe we drink a lot, things like that. That's pretty much what we do. We're not sitting around with a gun complaining about everybody who doesn't look like me or think like me or share my religious beliefs or economic status and, go whatever cult you believe in. We don't do that.